Hello everyone and welcome back to the DAO Adventure. Today we are building a web page for our DAO. This is project 5 out of 5 from the DAO Adventure. This is the final project of the training. The training is a specific phase of the DAO Adventure where I guide you through 5 projects implemented in Motoko. The goal of the training is to get you ready for the graduation where you will build and deploy your own DAO and earn your Motoko Bootcamp Diploma. The mission for today is to build a website for our DAO. We will use the fact that canisters can serve a web page. We won't use any front-end technology for today, so no React, no JavaScript, no Svelte or Vue.js. We could do that on the internet computer. You can actually build full web application and deploy them on the internet computer using what's called as the asset canister. This is not something that we will explore today. If you are interested, I'll provide a link in the description of this video to this asset canister and some explanation on how to do that. Today we will implement everything in Motoko as usual, and we will just implement a simple web page that contains the name of our DAO and a few more information. As always, we will use the DAO Adventure training repository and we will open the Git pod to create a workspace and work from there. So my workspace is ready. I'm opening the day 5 project and as always the main.motoko file as well as the project.markdown file. Let's take a look at the instruction for this project. So project 5 showing the DAO to the world. It's showtime. You have built the foundation for the DAO. By now it's time to get public and showcase your vision to the rest of the world. The more public and vocal you can be about the DAO, the more people will know about it and the more magic will happen. Of course, this makes sense. A simple way to do this is to build a web page that will allow anyone to see the name, manifesto, goals and some statistic about your DAO. We will also add a logo to make things cooler. Mission. Today, canisters are able to serve web content and websites. We will leverage this feature in this level. Your mission is to implement a simple website that will allow anyone to see the name, manifesto, goals of your DAO. We will do that without using any front-end technology. We'll simply use Motoko and HTML to generate the web page. I guess HTML is a front-end technology, but this is the only one that we will use today. The end result should look something like this. So this is the example for the Motoko Bootcamp DAO. You can have something different, of course. You can see the name, the manifesto, a logo, and the goals of the DAO. Requirements, the website should respect the following requirements. The name of the DAO should be displayed, the logo of the DAO should be displayed, the manifesto should be displayed, as well as the goals. So that's the minimum set of information that we need to display on the web page. We have a few tasks here, 1, 2, 3, 4 tasks only for today. And the interface at the end of this level, your canister should implement the following interface, so getStat and HTTP request. So we have less methods that we are used to implement. We only have 4 tasks for this level, but those are more advanced tasks. Let's take a look at the main.motoko file. So we can take a look. We have the project 1, the project 2, 3, and 4, because we will need those information for project 5. And project 5, we have already the bare bone minimum, so we have the logo, but currently it's an empty set of text. We have this get web page, so this is where the HTML that is required for your web page is actually constructed. So you don't need to touch this function, it's automatically there for you and you can work with it, but you don't need to implement it or touch it. Then the getStat function, you have the body of it, but everything is currently empty. And of course, you have the HTTP request method, which, by the way, should be a query. So I'll probably modify that in the repository. So you should have the query here. Also, we have this type.motoko file, which contains the types for project 2, project 4, and the project 5. So we have the type DAO statistics and some of the type necessary for HTTP request, HTTP response, header field, streaming strategy, streaming callback token, and streaming callback response. If you're not familiar with the HTTP method and the HTTP fields, you can watch some videos about HTTP. It's not specific to the HTTP protocol, is not specific to the IC. So you can find resources and videos that explains what is the body, what are the headers, the method, the status code. The streaming strategy is probably specific to the IC. Essentially, messages on the IC are limited to 2 megabytes. So in the case where your web page would be heavier than 2 megabytes, you would need to implement a streaming strategy. Essentially, it would stream messages until the web page is reconstructed on the client side. We won't need to worry about the streaming strategy for today. Your web page will stay under 2 megabytes. All right, this is time for you to pause this video and to implement the Project 5 by yourself. Good luck, and I see you in a few minutes for the correction. All right, I hope that you've successfully implemented all the methods and functions necessary for this project. If not, don't worry, I will correct and explain everything. So the task number 1 was to select a logo. I already have a logo for the Motoko Bootcamp. If you don't have a logo, you would need to find one for your DAO or create one if you want to. You can use the website that I've provided here, a flat icon, which provides some icons and free SVG that you can use. Make sure to use SVG as a format for the logo because we actually want to directly copy paste. So I can show you. Essentially, I would just copy paste the SVG file like this and use it in this format. Of course, we can encode and we can store binary objects in Motoko. So we could store PNGs, we could store JPEGs, but this is something more advanced that we won't explain and dive into today. And so that's why right now I'm recommending to use a SVG that you just copy paste. Also make sure that it's reasonably light. So you can see this one is only a few lines. So make sure to use a simple icon or simple logo. The only problem that we need to fix is that if we want this value to be the value of the logo, we need to fix this issue where essentially Motoko use double quotes to delimit the textual character. And we also use double quotes inside the SVG. And so to fix that, we can actually replace the double quote inside the SVG to simple quotes. So it won't mess with the Motoko syntax. So you can select all of them with Command D or Control D if you are on Windows. And once you have selected all of them, you can just replace them with a simple quote. And now we are good to use that and we are good to go. So that's it for task number 1 and task number 2. For task number 3, we need to take a look at the get stats. So we can take a look at the types.motoko file and take a look at the statistics. So the statistics that we want is the name of the DAO. Here we will simply use the name that is specified in project 1. So let name here. We could write name is equal to name, but you know that we can abbreviate that in Motoko to simply name. Same thing applies for manifesto. For goals, we actually want to use the goals that are stored in the buffer, so the one from the project 1, but we want to convert those goals to an array, so we can use buffer.toArray of the goals. For the members, we want the members as an array of text, so essentially what we want is the name of our members, and for that we can create an helper function, so get member names. Essentially would return an array of text. To do that, we can already return member array, which would be iter.toArray of members.values. So here I'm simply doing something that we've already done. Essentially in the project 2, if you remember, we have this getAllMember method, and we are using exactly this syntax in iter.toArray member.values, but this will return all the values that are stored in this hash map. So this will return the member object. What we want is only the name, and if you remember, a member is composed of a name, of an and an age. So we need to essentially drop the age. We only want the name. To do that, we can return array.map. So array.map is a function that will apply a specific function to every element of our array and return the new array. You need to specify two types, the types of the previous values in your array. So essentially we will convert member to text. So we need to specify member text. Then you need to specify the array that you want to apply array.map on, and then the function that you want to apply. And the function that we want to apply is simply a function that takes a member, and from the member we will return simply the name of the member, so member.name. And this is how we could define this function. So member.name. And we return this array. So once again, array.map is a function that executes this function to every element of this array. And so it will create a new array where instead of having member as element, we will have text as element, and the text corresponds to the name of the member. So the array will be of the same size and contains all the member names. So we can use that to get member names. The logo will be the same as name and manifesto. The logo is just stored as a text here, so we can simply use this syntax. For the number of members, we will use members.size. And this function shouldn't be asynchronous, it should be synchronous. Members.size. Okay, so we are done with the getStat. Now we have dynamic stats for our DAO that can be queried by anyone. So this is a good way to share information with the outside world. And finally, we want to implement the HTTP request method. So this is how you would implement a simple hello world. Essentially, you would use the headers to specify that you are returning a content of type HTML and the content is encoded as UTF-8. And then you return the body, so you encode the UTF-8. Text.encode UTF-8 is a method from the base library. Text is a module from the base library, and if you look, you have a method called encode UTF-8, which essentially converts a text to a blob, so a binary object. And this is the binary object that we return in the body of the request. We need to specify the status code as 200. 200 signifies that the HTTP request was successful. And the body, so we will use text.encode UTF-8, but instead of encoding hello world in our example, we will encode our web page. So get web page. The streaming strategy is going to be null. As I've said earlier, we don't have a web page that is heavier than 2 MB. And that's it for the project 5. So now we can try to deploy it. Fix deploy in the playground projects. This is our Candid UI. So as you can see, we have this HTTP request method, but this is not actually how we are interested in accessing our canister, because right now we are accessing our canister through the Candid UI. What we want to do is directly accessing our canister. So the canister ID that we are looking for is this one, and we want to access it without the Candid UI. So essentially what we need to do is remove this canister ID, which is the one of the Candid UI canister, and then .row.icp0.io. Don't forget the .row. If you forget the .row, this is what you will face. So you will face this issue, body does not pass verification. This is because the Internet Computer certifies every asset that is served through the Internet Computer. So every web page is actually certified by the consensus of the Internet Computer. This is extremely powerful, and it enables you to browse websites with a very, very strong degree of guarantee that you are on the correct website. But unfortunately, we have not implemented this certification in our backend. We could do it, but it would require more advanced concepts, and also it would require more time. So this is not in the scope of this project. And that's why you need to use .row. .row enables you to bypass the verification. And so we can see our web page. So we have the name of the DAO, we have the manifesto of the DAO, the logo that is printed here, and the goals of our DAO. Notice that if we go to the Candid UI, so the Candid UI, we can access it with this link. If we go here and we try to add a goal, so for example, finish the bootcamp and graduate, we call that, we wait for the call to be resolved, and then we can refresh our web page, and this will be added as a goal. This comes from the getWebPage function here that essentially iterate over all your goals and add, for each goal, add an element, HTML list element, which is adding an element, and so it's represented here. Congratulations for making it that far. The training is now over, and it's now time for you to move to your graduation project. The graduation project will be less guided, so you won't see me correcting the graduation project, but you have enough knowledge at this point to do it on your own. You will have a video with a 10-minute explanation on how to get started with the graduation project and how to fulfill the requirements, and that will be enough for you. I see you in the next video, and in the meantime, keep building.